Welcome to the new YouTube channel. If you haven't already done it, hit the subscribe button to follow us all season long for updates and content. So happy that you're here. It's going to be a great year. Two quarterbacks that have a lot of acclaim, a lot of praise, a lot of early maybe expectations from the outside world that, Caleb Williams going the number one pick. CJ Stroud having an outstanding season last season. What were they going to do? And is this Chicago's Bears team, is that defense really ready to take the next step? And I think they really acquitted themselves really well in this game last night. I think the Chicago Bears defense made enough plays. They were making it life really difficult on CJ Stroud and that really talented receiving core. Made things very difficult on Mixon. I think had a really hard time throughout this game finding running room after having a really good first game. But Caleb Williams, Mitchell, I told you. I called this early. I don't know. I don't know if this translates. I don't know if what he does translates. And on top of that, what were the Bears doing in the draft? Like when you got Caleb Williams, everybody blamed Justin Fields for everything last year, but they could all agree that line was atrocious last season. And you thought, okay, you got two picks in the top 10 in the draft. Sure, you take Caleb Williams. Everybody can live with that. Everybody can understand. Chicago's finally going to get their quarterback of the future, best quarterback they've ever drafted, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, got it. But then you go receiver? For what? For what? You have nobody to protect him. Like, I thought they go Joe out right there. I thought they, maybe they bounce back and get a center or a guard, but you need to draft an offensive lineman. Drafting a receiver who ends up going out and dropping a touchdown. It looked like an easy touchdown. I can understand he mistimed it. It looked like somebody might have tipped the ball, but in the National Football League, receivers make that play, Mitchell. That's a wide open three-pointer in the NBA. Maybe somebody just did a flyby. Now you regather, maybe take a dribble, drain. But he dropped it. And so you could say the deep defender was on him a little bit and all this, but you put two hands on that football, yeesh. But I have not seen from Caleb Williams, and that offensive line is a big reason why we haven't seen it, because he doesn't have time to really showcase his talent. And we were talking about this earlier. We had a production meeting for TNF, and we were talking about why the Patriots played Jacoby Brissett instead of Drake May. And everybody was all, up in arms. But this is why. Because you don't want to shell shock a young quarterback. You don't want to shell shock and make him gun shy. Because now he doesn't have that confidence and swagger and everything, all that talent and moving around and throwing it sidearm. Everybody's like, oh, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes waited behind Alex Smith and then got to play. Very few greats. Tom Brady waited and then he got to play. There's very few great quarterbacks that come out and have that expectation and then really play well. Because Peyton got to play early, but he didn't play well. He threw a lot of interceptions in his rookie year. And people just forget about that because he went on to have a Hall of Fame career, deservedly so. He's everything he was supposed to be, no question about it. But his rookie year was different than it could have been because they threw him in the fire early. They're picking with the number one pick for a reason, Mitchell, because they weren't a very good team. And although their defense, the last 8 games of the season was number one, that offensive line needed to be addressed, and they did not address it. They went receiver. That was a mistake, and it's damning this team, and it's damning this quarterback right now. Like, it all seems good 7-on-7, but when you don't have an offensive line to protect the quarterback, you can't even see how talented he is. Like, is he a bust? Is he not a bust? We can't tell because he got sacked 7 times.
This team scored 1 touchdown in the last 2 games offensively. They won. They beat the Titans off of special teams and defense, and their defense kept them in this game. To your point, and you see it too running the ball. Because of this, Caleb Williams gets sacked 7 times, throws 2 interceptions. They developed no run game. Their big free agent addition and DeAndre Swift goes off for 14 carries for a grand total of 18 yards. Richard, and then you got the problem here is, Rich, is we saw it last year. Everyone saw CJ Stroud, right? Here's a rookie that takes the league by storm and, is an outside shot as being an MVP, conversation towards the end of the year. Everyone's like, wow, CJ Stroud did it. There's no reason Caleb Williams can't do it. And look what he has around him. He's got Keenan Allen. He's got DJ Moore. He's got Rome Odunze. But to your point, Richard, keep it simple, stupid, right? I mean, the football is being meant to be built in the trenches from the center position outwards. And they addressed it a little bit in free agency. But to your point, the young talent influx needs to be on that O-line for the Bears because they've got a great defense and a team, frankly, that would scare the living heck out of me if you gave them a mediocre offensive line. But Richard, we look here at the Texans, and they could truthfully go on a roll here because outside of the Texans, the AFC South is a hot pile of mess. This team, I don't see a world that they don't win this by a number of games unless Trevor Lawrence miraculously turns this thing around or Anthony Richardson gets hot. But Rich, talk to me more about the Texans. Like, what are your real thought process here? Do you still view them as a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah, I still view them the same way I viewed them before. They're still a young team who needs to go through these learning curves. They need to find a way to incorporate Stefon Diggs into this offense and ingratiate him of sorts, Mitchell, into this offense because Nico Collins is the go-to guy, Tank Dell. But it's always hard, Mitchell, to bring a third guy into the equation and have him mesh in the other way. They had a great chemistry, a great rapport, but the book on Stefon Diggs coming out of Buffalo last year, and you hear it, I don't think Josh Allen is purposely trying to take any shots, but he's like, everybody eats. He's not focused on just getting Stefon the ball all the time. He's able to just say, hey, who's open? That's where I'm going. And right now you could see at moments CJ Stroud trying to get Stefon Diggs the ball. And he's a fantastic receiver, so I can understand why. But is it within the flow of the offense? Is it in Bobby Slowick's offense? Is that where the ball should be going? And is this the same flow that they were in last season? And I think that's where they're going to have to get back to is that you're going to have to get back to saying, hey, let's just run the offense. And the guy who gets open is the guy who gets the ball. Hey, what the defense gives us, hey, it's cover 3. That means the ball goes to the corner route. Whoever's on the corner route is getting the ball. Not, hey, I know Stefon needs a few targets here. Stefon is a great receiver and fantastic, but if the play in the defense does not say that he should be getting the ball, then don't throw it there. And I think you got to, as a young quarterback with a veteran receiver who's been very successful, incredibly talented receiver, you feel the pressure to get him the ball, as you should, but you got to stay within the offense. And I think if CJ Stroud can do that and really maintain his command of that offense, I think they'll be great. That defense looked really good. Derek Stingley is a problem. He's making them target the other corner all the time. You look on that D-line, Danielle Hunter looked incredible. Danielle Hunter was a monster, Mitchell. A monster all night. Will Anderson, Henry To'o. So, Mitchell, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that. I'm hoping I got it. I didn't. No disrespect. He had 13 tackles and a sack, and he looks like he has a great feel for what they want from their linebackers. The 99-9 eyes, the vision, the breaking down on checkdowns. He's getting home on pressure. I like that. And then on the other side, Chicago's defense still looked good. Jaquan Brisker got a sack. Kyler Gordon got a sack. Javon Dexter got a sack. They were putting pressure on the quarterback all night long. They're recovering well. Our guy, friend of the program. He played a really good game. Jalen Johnson played a really good game. They did their part. You can't, that's an offense you don't expect to hold to under 20 points. You hold this offense under 20 points, you expect to win the game. And at the end, they still had chances to win the game. But Caleb Williams, he didn't feel comfortable in that pocket. Deservedly so. He got hit 11 times. And he missed on some go routes where it was almost intentional. Did they call it? They called the intentional grounding on one of them. But you got to give the receiver a chance. If you're going to put it up, put it up. He's throwing it 20 yards behind the receiver, and I can't really blame him. Look, I don't play the position. And I'm not saying I'm sitting out there and getting hit 11 times and I'm going to throw the ball accurately. I'm not saying that because I cannot say that. So give the kid a break, and I'm going to give him a break because I'm saying, protect him. But that's on Ryan Poles. Like, what were you thinking? Drafting a receiver instead of a tackle or a guard or a center. Like, if you would have used freaking 5 picks on O-linemen, nobody would have said anything about it. It would be like, oh, makes sense. they didn't have a lot of great offensive linemen last year. But you didn't, and now your quarterback is suffering. It looks great if this was 7-on-7. Your offense would be fantastic, but it's not. Trenches. The teams that win are built in the trenches. If you look at the Final Four last year, you look at the Detroit Lions, trenches. They got good trench play, Mitchell. You look at the Baltimore Ravens, great trench play, Mitchell. You look at the San Francisco 49ers, great trench play, Mitchell. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs. You can look at either side of the ball for them, the interior O-line with Thuney and those boys, or Chris Jones on the other side. Great trench play. And you think, we're going to draft a receiver. What?
Richard, I mean, the way you simplified things, man, I mean, God bless. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you convinced me of it. There's no question about it. Draft a damn tackle. I'm with you 1,000%.